Lord forgive me for this trap shit. Sergeant Smack make it backflip. Telly Hank did with the action. With the vital speaking Spanish. Frank Matthews how I vanish. Poof. Came back like I'm King Tut. Gold BBS is on a beamer. When Fat Cat was 10 queens up. Ball off the profit, not the re-up. Fly like Puerto Rican Jesus. Uptown like I'm Baby May. Just caught a touchdown from the bay.
We have put the gangster disciples on the American agenda again tonight. Last night we reported on how this street gang in Chicago is making a fortune selling illegal drugs. Now the gangster disciples wish us to believe that they are ready to do good. They are planning to become a major political force in Chicago.
Black Disciple street gang leaders and operatives were scooped up by federal agents in Chicago. The roundup was heralded as a new day for law enforcement and new awakening for a crime group
that has dominated drugs and guns in some parts of the city.
In Chicago last fall, a march to protest school problems surprised the political establishment by rallying thousands of young people in the city streets. Many of those marchers were gang members because the political organization that sponsored the rally, 21st Century Vote, has deep ties to a criminal street gang, the Gangster Disciple Nation. The Gangster Disciples, police say, is one of the country's most violent drug-dealing gangs, viciously controlling a third of the drug trade in Chicago, with an army of 30,000 members who follow orders. And one of those orders was to show up at that political march, according to this Gangster Disciple member who had no idea why he was sent there.
I don't really know what the march was about, but they had us down. I don't want to ask them no questions why this and why we had to go that we just do. They wanted to see a lot of people show up there. I don't know why.
But gang leaders knew they were building numbers. It was a show of political force.
And I want to make sure that everybody's registered.
Dwayne Harris, identified by police as a member of the Gangster Disciples, is also the president of 21st Century Vote. The group's plan, he says, is to use political power to improve inner-city neighborhoods, gain better jobs for residents. And if gang members want to help, he says he will accept them, no questions asked.
We're trying to come up with solutions to help them turn themselves around and get involved politically, positive, and become more entrenched in the community.
The work and growing numbers of 21st Century Vote have, despite the gang's involvement, impressed a good many politicians.
If they were organized properly, they have the potential to elect people or unelect people.
One they'd like to unelect is Chicago Mayor Richard Daley. When Joe Gardner announced last month he's going to challenge Daley, he welcomed the support of 21st Century Vote, unconcerned about their ties to the gang. And Jerry Washington, who lost a race for state representative, welcomed gang members' involvement in his campaign.
If it takes the gangs to get something constructive started in this community, to get good folks, common folks, inspired to be back into the thrust of a movement to help save a community and stabilize it, then let's use it. Let's utilize it.
How are you doing? My name's Dwayne Harris, and I'm from 21st Century Vote.
Some respected community groups have also accepted 21st Century Vote's claim that its primary purpose is to serve the community.
Would you like to register?
But police insist just the opposite is true. Gang investigators have told ABC News they are convinced the 21st Century Vote political organization was created primarily to protect and expand the power and influence of the Gangster Disciples. In fact, they say it was here at the Vienna State Prison in Illinois that the 21st Century Vote Political Committee was conceived by the acknowledged leader of the Gangster Disciples, convicted murderer Larry Hoover. He discussed his plans to acquire political power in a monitored telephone conversation 2 years ago.
See, the vote is the most important. What they fear more than anything is our political power. All we got to do is put our program together, follow our program. That's my main focus right there. and stop these kids from hurting each other out there.
The kids Hoover referred to, gang members involved in a vicious gang war. Hoover had publicly called for a gangland truce, but the Chicago gang war has actually escalated. Gang-related killings are up 150% over this time last year. And much of the violence, according to police, stems from the gangster disciples' own drug dealing activity, which they say Hoover himself continues to control.
Larry Hoover's still directing the criminal activities of the gangster disciple street gang from his prison cell. Those activities include extortion, drug dealing, and violent crimes.
Police believe Hoover and the gangster disciples are gathering political power to benefit their own criminal enterprise.
I think their ultimate objective, in my opinion, is to get officials that they can control elected.
You know, we're moving into a new era, man. Totally political.
And in this gangster disciple meeting, secretly taped by state police during a narcotics investigation, a gang lieutenant tells gang members politics is now a top priority.
You know, we're trying to put people in the office, man, to where it's going to benefit us. We're trying to take people out of office, you know, to where it's hurting us.
Police also charge the gang is using 21st Century Vote to get its leader, Larry Hoover, out of prison. This letter on 21st Century Vote letterhead was sent to the Illinois Parole Board in support of Hoover's release. And longtime gang investigators like Chicago's Bob Dart are convinced the gangster disciples are using 21st Century Vote as a cover to shield their criminal activities from police scrutiny.
If they say it's political, we can't investigate.
That's because Chicago police ran into trouble here in the 1960s for spying on the anti-war and Black Power movement. After that, the court severely restricted police investigations of political groups. And when gangster disciples meet as members of 21st Century Vote, they are a political group.
We're in a catch-22 situation, and the street gang is well aware of that. They know very well that all they got to do is close their front door, and they put us out of business.
And federal agents worry the political model may be exported. They say the gangster disciples have chapters and affiliates in over 150 cities, from Topeka, Kansas to Orlando, Florida.
They are many, many times larger than the mafia. They are the new mafia. They are the mafia of the future.
Many Chicago community leaders are angry.
Darnell McMiller, who claims he cannot afford a private attorney.
Yo, we back. It's your boy Popalot. Mobb ties. We on our way to Illinois with it. The Shy. It's been a minute, but y'all know how I rock with y'all, man. Y'all get in the comment box. Let it be known. We're going to be covering some real shit today. Now, today we are going to be talking about an organization that's probably the biggest in the Shy. If anybody know, we're going to be talking about the Black Disciples, the BDs. And we are going to be talking about an incident that occurred in 2019 with their then head of the organization. Going to be a gentleman by the name of Lawrence Big Law Loggins. Also went by the last name of Lee, according to the government. Now, the main reason that we're covering him is because he was a big dog just in Chicago itself, but definitely in the BD organization. He was the head, but he was released from prison, they said, in 2009 for the murder of a guy by the name of Gregory Freeman. And that murder occurred in Lowe's Park on the south side. And I guess the important thing about Gregory Freeman is he was related to Jerome Shorty Freeman, who was the former king of the gang, who died of natural causes at the age of 60 in 2012. So after being released, Big Law kept a low profile. The authorities are going to say that they didn't even have a updated photo of him as far as like for gang intelligence. So, and that's a huge deal when we talk about the Black Disciples, that at one time they're going to say they boasted at least 4,000 members just in Chicago alone. And that was according to the police. And now in recent years, the gang has splintered into autonomous drug dealing factions. And this is according to the police department. So Big Law ended up being killed in 2019. And after his killing, there was a lot of fears of retaliatory shootings. It was claims that he was murdered possibly by the Mexican cartel for a drug shipment that was ripped off or that was lost. Some say that he was even killed for trying to unite the gang the way that they was, because it's broken down into a lot of different factions, and that can, you see how that can cause a lot of beef. Now, he, after the gang-related murder that he was arrested for, I want to say in '89, he was released in the late '90s. He actually worked with a nonviolence organization, and they're gonna say that Big Law interrupted at least 20 conflicts that could have turned deadly in the city of Chicago. So that, if that don't go to show you how important he is, when he was killed, Dirk tweeting out RIP Big Law. The authorities referencing him as Chief Keef's big homie, a sense, and not to mention his son, Lawrence Little Law Lee, who is a leader, according to the authorities, of the Lamb Run Black Disciples faction. He's currently serving a 15-year sentence on an attempted murder. So our condolences go out to him, go out to the gang. So just with that being said, that kind of shows you how big a person that Big Law was, not only in the gang culture, but just in Chicago, because it was reported by the Chicago Sun-Times. They said it was said that they had security along his funeral procession just because of the fears of the retribution. So it was never really set in stone as far as the reason for the killing or for his murder, but those were just some of the myths that was mentioned as far as the Mexican cartel, as far as him trying to unite the gang, and certain people not really wanting to be a part of that. And they're going to say, well, maybe he was possibly killed by somebody in the faction that did not want the gang to be united. So it's a lot of theories going on in this. Y'all get in the comment box. Y'all let us know what y'all think. Y'all know we're going to be back with some more real Trill Spill shit. And make sure y'all follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, POP_A_LOT. We're going to be back with some more real Trill Spill shit. RIP Big Law. Free Little Law. Y'all know what it is. The Mobb. Mobb. Ties.